Hello, my wonderful queer friends. My name is Joy, and I run these queer poetry accounts called Poems by Joy. I am working on a queer poetry manuscript, and these accounts are here to promote that queer poetry manuscript that I'm going to release in the spring or summer of 2026. And I hope that you will stick around so that you will follow my journey towards that queer poetry manuscript, and you will see how it develops, and that you will like and subscribe for queer poetry content, and you will be one of the first to get that queer poetry manuscript. If you like what you see and hear today, like I said, please like and subscribe. I talked to our queer god, and they said that you should like and subscribe to my account. I'm friends with them, and I called in some favors, and they were like, yeah, tell your audience to like and subscribe, okay? They said it was totally cool. It was alright, so like and subscribe, okay? Today I'm going to share with you some WLW love poems, because who doesn't like some good queer WLW love, right? I mean, like, obviously a good chunk of the population does it, but they're just haters, and we're not here for them. So can I get a hey for some queer love? Amen, right? Amen. I have loved women ever since I really can remember. Just kind of a pure type of love, even before I had labels for it. I can remember walking into my physical anthropology course at IUPUI. It was Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, the new, I guess, IU Indianapolis, the old IU Indianapolis. And just loving this beautiful blonde girl. I remember looking over her shoulder to see her signing her name, and it was Elena. And I was like, oh my God, I love Elena. Something about her, her energy, the way she carried herself. I just loved her. Well, apparently was just infatuated with her. And I remember loving a woman that I tutored with at a nonprofit here in Indianapolis named Miss Amy by the students. Redheaded Miss Amy. I was crazy about it. Everybody knew about this. Who recently just defended her PhD. She's a doctor now. Congratulations, Miss Amy. And you will see some of these poems I'm going to read today are about Miss Amy. And there was Kat, musician Kat, that I didn't even have the language for, that I just loved back in high school. I have always admired the beauty of women and have loved them even before I had the label of like queer or anything like that. And I guess there are other labels that we're using now. Some people are using the L word for me. I'm not white knuckling anything, but I'm just using kind of an umbrella term. I'm not even using a label sometimes, but hey, it is what it is, right? I love women. So let's jump into it. So the first WLW love poem that I have today is called Fierce Fire Friend. And this was written about my beloved Miss Amy. She had fiery red hair. She was sassy. She was fiery. And here we go. Fierce Fire Friend. You ran past my mind yesterday, a rare glimpse, a rare throwback to the days when we gathered at the school as shelters for afternoon tutoring. A sweet jaunt backward, a classic braiding of fate had me swallowing, grinding my teeth about you and your messy red bun atop your head. Do you recall when I wrote how I loved you in a card? 1 month after I went into hospice, and I wrote you final words of death and of fire I thought I could hide. I think back to you sitting next to my bed and me feeling so fat, as if this condition would kill me quicker than kidney disease ever could. I would simply combust from visceral fat. I contemplated dying with my secret, or condemning myself to spill. I chose the latter because I am often a glutton for more pain than even death can promise of itself. You laughed as I played sexually suggestive rap music, and you bobbed your head. I'm a gangster, you said, and I believed you to the point that I questioned needing protection. I cannot quit ruminating about the candy-like sweetness of that moment. You and I alone in my room, me refuting death again, and if you ever come back into town, I would marry you. Lots of themes in that poem. I mean, the fact that I was in hospice due to kidney disease at any point in my life is a complicated issue. And that this woman came to sit next to my bed, unafraid, when I was in hospice. And that we sat having a conversation about sexually suggestive rap music, and she bobbed her head and said, "I'm a gangster." Yeah, she was an interesting character. She wasn't scared to be with me in those moments, and that's the type of woman that Miss Amy was. You could see why I loved her. You know, I didn't even consider myself queer when I first loved Miss Amy. I didn't consider myself anything. I thought any reasonable person would love Miss Amy. I didn't need a label, I didn't need anything. Any reasonable person with a brain and with eyes would love Miss Amy. And that describes pretty much how I've gone about loving these women my whole life before I ever had the label of queer. She was cool. She was badass. The next poem I have was written for Miss Amy. This poem is called "You Went to Portugal for School, I Went Back in My Mind." There was a time that Miss Amy went overseas to work on her PhD, and that's when I wrote this poem. Pretty self-explanatory. Oh, and I had lobbied for the post office on a freezing cold day because she was so into social justice. And I was like, I'm gonna impress this girl. And we were out lobbying, holding signs. I think it was for like some type of postal workers' rights. And it was so cold that day. I remember just freezing and thinking, just go out there. You'll be next to your girl. You'll be doing something good for the postal workers. And here's the poem. You went to Portugal for school. I went back in my mind. Blustery and frigid. Just wear the damn gloves. Keep steady and march. What does the post office do for us again? I cannot imagine a better way to show commitment than to join this demonstration for this institution, around this circle, around these cars. But you can? What's in Portugal? I'd say I'd spend a lifetime pursuing you. Perhaps I'd spend a cold 3 hours, I thought that day. And yet a decade later, I'm squished between not knowing whether to stay in a small city and Los Angeles. I don't know whether or how to know to choose, but you can? What's in Portugal? I can't stop pretending that I have better options and that real life exists on the other side of my fantastical, noting the difference between my past, my dreams, goals, truth, and a game of excuses made to be untouchable. I beg to know what waking up feels like without flinching. But you can? What's in Portugal? By the end of this monologue, you will have an advanced degree. I will glance sideways at my phone, bolstering figments of you, and I will be warm under my electric blanket, steady and stable, but not well without you, and not always able to speak when public rhetoric was once my forte. But you can? What's in Portugal? I was always a little envious that she could just get up and leave and go to a different country to study for her advanced degree when I was homesick with kidney disease and wanting to be with her, right? I've since gotten my master's degree and fallen in love with other women and cheered her on, and she's gotten her PhD, and I'm so proud of her. It's a complicated situation, but she's a great woman, and I'm great too, actually, so I think it evens out. By the way, Miss Amy, Dr. Amy, is heterosexual. Sounds like Miss Amy was like a queer awakening for me, like a gay awakening for me, right? Do you have one? Who was your gay awakening? Was there a woman that just made you realize you were queer? I mean, Miss Amy was so smart, so community-minded, so quirky and beautiful. I couldn't help myself. Anyway, are you on my team? Do you just love queer poetry content? Like I said, like and subscribe, right? Well, Thank you, my beautiful queer people. Have a wonderful day. And like I said, God told me to tell you to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, friends.